I'm just asking you about this unusual...
I can't answer your question, yes or no.
Did you or anyone else from the DOJ or associated with the president discuss a presidential pardon with Ghislaine Maxwell?
Do you believe it is the president's right and duty to order the investigation or prosecution of his perceived enemies? Yes or no?
Today, mistakes were made. I'm asking you today, with Epstein survivors in this room, to apologize to them.
Well, so my heart breaks.
You directed the arrest of Mayor Ras Baraka of my city of Newark. You weren't at Delaney Hall on May 9th, 2025, when he was arrested. But yes or no, did you have a conversation with Special Agent in Charge Ricky Patel ordering him to arrest Mayor Baraka?
Confirmation hearings aren't supposed to be comfortable. They're designed to answer one question. Can this nominee be trusted with the most powerful law enforcement office in America? During Todd Blanche's hearing, senators from multiple committees repeatedly pressed him on political independence, the Epstein investigation, victims' rights, prosecutorial decisions, and his own professional record. The exchanges became increasingly direct, increasingly confrontational, and at several points the hearing shifted from policy to personal accountability. Here are the moments that define the hearing. Every confirmation hearing has a moment that sets the tone for everything that follows. And for Todd Blanche, it comes immediately. Senator Cory Booker wastes no time pressing him on one of the hearing's central concerns: whether the Department of Justice has remained independent or has become too closely aligned with political interests. As the questioning intensifies, Blanche draws a careful distinction between ordering an arrest and merely authorizing one. That single choice of words quickly becomes the focal point of the exchange, with Booker repeatedly testing whether it's a meaningful legal distinction or simply a way to avoid responsibility. Watch how quickly this hearing shifts from routine confirmation questions to a direct confrontation over accountability.
Whole due process for all. But this is just one example cited by over 1,200 current and former Department of Justice officials appointed under presidents of both parties who warned that you should not be in this position because of your inability to be independent from your personal allegiance to Donald Trump over the rule of law. I met yesterday with Epstein survivors. Some of them are here in the room today. Congress, in a bipartisan fashion, passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act because the American people were demanding justice. Yet you failed to abide by that law and release the files by the deadline established by the law. And when the files were finally released, you failed to protect the survivors that law was intended to protect. Survivors' personal information, including names, phone numbers, home addresses, and images were released. Powerful people were redacted. Survivors were subjected to re-traumatization. More than 1,200 victims, yet only 2 people have ever been prosecuted: Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, I was stunned earlier by your conversation with one of my colleagues that you wouldn't even commit to meeting with the survivors, but you did meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. Your claim that you can't meet with these victims because they're represented by counsel is utter nonsense. Counsel can be present, or a client can waive their right to have counsel, but you're a lawyer. You know this. That was not truthful, what you said to my colleague. You said that they should meet with the FBI. All of these women have reported their crimes decades ago, but yet you won't meet with them. What you will do is meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. Over a year ago, you sat with her, and you publicly said you were seeking the truth. So let's talk about what that 2-day meeting produced. Did your interview with Ms. Maxwell lead to a single additional person being charged, yes or no?
No.
Did it lead to a single new investigation, yes or no?
I can't talk about whether there's any investigation.
I'm not asking you about an ongoing or closed investigation. I'm just asking you about this unusual...
I can't answer your question, yes or no.
Did you or anyone else from the DOJ or associated with the president discuss a presidential pardon with Ghislaine Maxwell or her attorneys?
No.
Did you discuss clemency, yes or no?
No.
Did you discuss
She was convicted. What do you mean clemency?
Did you discuss her transfer to another institution, yes or no?
No.
Well, just 1 week after your meeting, Ms. Maxwell was transferred from a low-security federal institution to a minimum security prison camp. Were you involved with that transfer?
When, as I've talked about before, in the time leading up to me going down to meet with her, we learned that she was receiving threats. It turned out when we
I'm
were
going to
there,
interrupt
it
you
turned
for a matter of time because,
Okay, well, it's not a question I can answer, apparently, in the
sir,
time you're giving me.
I'm going to tell you this because I deal with issues of criminal justice. When people are under threats in a Bureau of Prison facility, they're put into solitary confinement or protective. They're not moved to a camp.
That's not always true.
It is,
You're
well,
just
what
wrong.
is true is someone that is accused of child sex trafficking under the Bureau of Prison's own policies is not put in a facility like this that seems clearly like a reward.
This exchange changes the tone of the hearing. The discussion moves away from politics and back to the people whose lives were directly affected. Blumenthal isn't asking about legal strategy anymore. He's asking whether the Justice Department is willing to acknowledge mistakes that survivors believe deepen their pain. It's one of the few moments where accountability becomes deeply personal.
Well, let's talk about other information. Information about the Epstein abuses. Your predecessor apologized to the Epstein survivors with good reason, because as you've said today, mistakes were made. I'm asking you today, with Epstein survivors in this room, to apologize to them.
Well, so my heart breaks for every victim of any sexual crime, whether it's involving Mr. Epstein or somebody else. And so if you're asking me to apologize that this happened to them, of course, absolutely. This is a horrible thing, which is why this Department of Justice, this administration is focused very heavily on going after these predators. And so, yes, of course, that's part of my job, is being empathetic to the victims of crime.
Will you apologize to them for the mishandling and mistakes that were made by the United States Department of Justice?
I will absolutely say that any mistake that we made should not have been made. And I very much, apologize. I can answer the question, or you can just interrupt me, Senator, but I am answering your question. I very much and I have said this to anybody that asks, and publicly before, any mistake that was made is not appropriate. And so, yes, I am sorry that in about 1% of the documents, mistakes were made. But what I will say on top of that is we put tons of resources to rectifying those mistakes immediately, including pulling down documents within minutes of being informed that there were mistakes, potential mistakes made, and working 24/7 to rectify any mistakes. And that's what I would expect the victims would want us to do, and their counsel, and this body as well.
And you would agree with me, wouldn't you, that you can well meet with any of the survivors or victims with their counsel present? You said you can't meet with them, but you could meet with them if they're
I never said I can't meet with them. I said if they were represented, I had to meet through counsel, but of course I can meet with them.
Here the hearing shifts from emotion to institutional integrity. Blumenthal presses Blanche over allegations that prosecutorial decisions may have been influenced by politics rather than evidence. Blanche rejects the premise and repeatedly points to legal constraints, but the exchange highlights the central concern running through the hearing. Can the Department of Justice truly operate independent of political pressure?
About David Gentile. The Eastern District of New York was investigating these allegations and reportedly received a call from one of your top deputies instructing them about the concerns of the Department of Justice. The investigation was stopped by the Eastern District of New York. I wrote to you on June 23rd, and United States Attorney Joseph Nacella, about these allegations, that an investigation into this impropriety was shut down at the request of your office. Did you have any involvement or knowledge about the commutation of Mr. Gentile's sentence?
President Trump As I've said a couple times today, has full authority to pardon or commute anybody convicted of federal crime.
That's not my question.
So I'm answering your question, Senator.
Did you
I'm answering
know
your
about
question. My communications with President Trump, I will not talk about. He does not, nor should he. He has no obligation to discuss pardon or commutations decisions with me, and he has not. As far as what you just suggested about an investigation, I believe you're referring to a news article that was the result of apparent leaks, and I would caution that there's falsehoods in those news articles.
I'm asking you whether you had any involvement in commuting that sentence or in stopping the investigation into the allegations of impropriety possibly payment to Father Frank Mann.
And I answered the first question, but when you say stopping an investigation, there's an assumption built into your question that I will not concede. We will not talk about whether investigations exist or don't exist, and certainly some leak about something that we supposedly did doesn't warrant an answer either.
There was an investigation, correct?
That's my whole point in saying is that there's an assumption baked into your question that I don't think is true, meaning that we cannot comment on even the existence of investigations
You
like that.
commented this morning to Republican colleagues about several investigations.
No, I haven't.
Well, you commented in response to the chairman about the FISA investigation.
This may be the defining constitutional exchange of the hearing. Hirono repeatedly asks a simple question. Should any president have the ability to direct investigations toward political opponents? Blanche responds by emphasizing constitutional authority over the executive branch, while Hirono keeps returning to the practical implication. The exchange captures one of the deepest concerns surrounding the future independence of the Justice Department.
Have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator.
Do you believe it is the president's right and duty to order the investigation or prosecution of his perceived enemies? Yes or no?
I can't answer that yes or no. That wasn't the question. And my answer was that as the President of the United States, under Article 2, he's in charge of the Department of Justice. And so my answer reflects that idea, not that he has a right to go after his political enemies.
Reclaiming my time, I think that what the president meant was pretty clear, and I just wanted to know whether you thought that that is indeed his right and duty to prosecute his perceived enemies. So let me get to that. Investigations of the president's perceived enemies aren't theoretical. They are happening. For example, last August, President Trump posted on social media that George Soros should be charged with RICO. Weeks later, one of your deputies directed several U.S. attorneys' offices to investigate Soros's charitable foundations for violating the RICO statute. Mr. Blanche, to confirm, were the U.S. attorneys' offices asked to launch these investigations because of the president's post? Yes or no?
I'm not even confirming that they were asked to, but most certainly not because of any truth
Well, the
from
president
Trump.
the president definitely posted that Mr. Soros should be charged with RICO, and lo and behold, several weeks later, that is exactly what your office sought to have done. Since last year, DOJ has sued 30 states seeking their voter lists. 14 of those lawsuits have been resolved by federal judges. Mr. Blanche, did any of those 14 federal court judges from across the country agree with DOJ's legal position? Again, yes or no?
With some of the legal positions, yes.
Pardon?
The answer to the question is yes. Some of the judges
So
agreed
14
with some.
judges?
Agreed with some of our legal positions, and most of those cases are under appeal.
Actually, that's not correct. The answer is actually no. These 14 federal judges, some of them were Trump appointees, disagreed with DOJ's position in terms of getting access to these voter rolls.
Well, I think
it's all part of DOJ's attempt and the president's attempt at election interference.
Throughout this confirmation hearing, senators challenged Todd Blanche on the independence of the Justice Department, accountability to Epstein survivors, prosecutorial discretion, and the limits of presidential authority. Whether viewers believe Blanche's answers were sufficient or not, these exchanges reveal the questions lawmakers considered most important before entrusting him with one of the nation's most powerful legal offices. Which moment stood out to you the most? Let us know in the comments, and if you want more full hearing breakdowns with fact-based analysis, subscribe for future coverage.